Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Everyone always wants to talk about nerfs and balancing the meta, so in this video I'm going to take a look at what can be done about the current Sunken City meta, what cards should be nerfed, how could this meta be improved. So let's take a look at some of my top candidates for nerfs. First of all, the design team has already said that they nerf for two reasons. The card can be too powerful, or it can also promote toxic feel-bad moments. It can be bad for the game, even if it's not too powerful as such. And one of the toxic cards, and also potentially in wild too powerful cards, is the Switcheroo. Draw 2 minions, swap their stats. Even in standard format, Switcheroo Priest is roughly a 50% win rate deck, and that's a lot for a one-trick pony deck. That the only trick in the deck is that you play Switcheroo with Twin Fin and with a 12/12 minion, and then you play Twin Fin for 3 mana, 2 12/12 rush minions for 3 mana, and then you win the game with those, and you win half of your games playing that. So obviously that has got to go. And the only way to make it go is to nerf Switcheroo, because no matter if you nerf any minions, then you will always come back to the same problem later on. Like in Wild, they're using boars. So okay, they're not even using Twin Fin in Wild, so no matter what you do with other minions, the problem is always going to stay. The problem is Switcheroo. That has got to be changed. It has to be something else than swapping their complete stats. Maybe health swap or something, but something has got to be done, and Switcheroo has got to go. Another card that is much weaker, but still promotes a very toxic play pattern, is the Spiteless Siren. After you play a Naga, refresh 2 mana crystals, then you play a spell, refresh 2 mana crystals. This sort of infinite mana cheating playing your entire deck, this whole APM style, this has no place in a strategy card game. So Spiteless Siren should be definitely nerfed so that this toxic pattern would be removed from the game. So from the current standard format, these are the two cards that I would nerf based on their toxic play patterns instead of their actual strength. And what about cards that are actually strong, that are having a significant effect on the metagame? What of those cards? First of all, Blizzard decided to print tons and tons of pirate support for Quest Warrior again. I have no idea why they did that. I rue the day when they decided to do so, but that would have to be fixed somehow. But fixing that is also really hard. The most obvious fix is to touch Mr. Smite. Your pirates have charge. If you remove the pirates have charge, if you for example just give Mr. Smite charge, so it's just a charge minion, then that would remove some of the toxicity that is around with Questline Pirate Warrior, to an extent with Pirate Rogue, and make them a little bit weaker. Although I'm not sure if this weakens the Pirate Warrior even enough, but it's kind of hard, because Blizzard already, they nerfed the deck last expansion, and then they decided, hey, let's give it a ton of good pirates again. Like, I don't know what they were smoking, but I hope it was good, and I'm not even sure if Smite nerf is going to be enough to fix this. And another card that is really twisting the format is Drekthar. Every deck where Drekthar is by far the highest win rate card, it's by far the highest mulligan win rate card, it's just the card. In every single deck that you can put it in, it's just the best card in the deck. And this Drekthar aggro decks are really limiting the space for any sort of other aggro decks even. And yeah, removing Drekthar would open up more space for other strategies, more battlecry based strategies, for example, instead of just, hey, let's put in stuff that's good with Drekthar and play Drekthar and win games. But the thing is, if we nerf the aggro decks, well, then are we going to run into a situation where we're just going to put 29 removal cards and Kazakusan into your deck? And that's a risk. So Kazakusan should also be nerfed, because Kazakusan promotes these very unhealthy play patterns, and there's always a risk that Kazakusan becomes the dominant force in the metagame, like it has been a couple of times. And again, it's seeing a lot of play in Druid in particular, and it's making these situations where even if you can kill all the other threats of the Druid, well, they still have this Kazakusan which gives them a dozen more threats. So yeah, Kazakusan, that is not desirable card. Then there is the whole Druid problem, and the Druid problem is a very difficult problem because it's deeply ingrained into the core of the game. Like Druid, the class's main thing is ramp, and well, Wildheart Guff, are they actually planning to nerf Wildheart Guff already? Because in the new player decks, every single deck has the hero card, except for Druid. Wildheart Guff is the only hero card that is not provided by the new player decks. So I'm thinking there might be something in works already with Guff, maybe reverting the buff to Nourish or something Because Blizzard is in a difficult position with Druid. You can't really take away all the ramp from Druid. That just ruins the class identity. You can't make ramp completely unplayable. But right now it's very, very strong, so you would have to touch it somehow. Kazakhstan nerf would touch Druid because it would take away that endless quantity of threats that they have. But something else also. Guff, Nourish, or maybe the Naga Giant, so that they couldn't do those Naga Giant swing turns as quickly as they can right now. So those nerfs would touch some of the most toxic play patterns in the game at the moment. They would touch some of the strongest individual cards in the game at the moment, some of the strongest individual decks. They would make so that aggro isn't dominant. They would make it so that you can't just play a fatigue-style control deck. They would weaken the dominance of Druid a little bit. But there's still some other cards, maybe you could call them toxic as well, because there's definitely a deck-building problem at least, in particular with Kurtrus Demon Render and Lightforce Cariel. Because if you ever play a Demon Hunter deck, if you ever play a Paladin deck, you will always put these cards in your decks, because they fit in every archetype. But maybe these will not be touched right now, because there's a bunch of other stuff to solve as well. But then, yeah, even if you solve all of this stuff, like, these balance changes, they're just fine-tuning. But the real problem is that Sunken City is so poorly designed of an expansion that the whole concept is really flawed. And I touched on that on my yesterday's video. And that's something that you cannot fix with any balance changes. But a few balance changes to touch some of the outlier cards, to touch some of the most toxic experiences, could make the meta more tolerable. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.